Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. Are you ready for Sinners Review Part 2? Let's get into it. So, as soon as I posted, or maybe even while it was uploading, my first review, I was like, damn, there is so much nuance to this film. Like, there's so many layers. There's so much more to get into. I'm going to have to do a Part 2. And I made myself a little video, which I think I should have posted already if you're watching this, highlighting some of the things that I really wanted to get into, but that video was pretty on point, I feel like, so you should go back and watch that too. Okay, so first things first, I have to talk a little bit more about Delta Slim, which, as you know, if you watch my first video, is a character who I have so much love and respect for. And since making the first video, I've been, going just through different TikToks and just like seeing what people have been saying from when the movie was first released in IMAX, when people first saw it in theaters, and since it's been released on streaming. So there's been conversation going on for a long time, which I blessedly and thankfully have been able to miss out on, right? So I didn't get any spoilers before I saw the movie, which I'm really so grateful for. And in seeing a lot of those conversations, just noticing little different aspects that I'm like, oh yeah, or that I didn't notice, or that I wanted to talk about some more, which I just think is so beautiful. I love what this movie has done and is doing. It's middle of summer. I don't know why I have on a cardigan. Hold on. Yeah. Like, for real, though. I feel like Olivia Pope up in this bitch. It's handled. Fits. Okay. JK. We love you, Kerry Washington. And Tony Golden Myers. Okay, so Delroy Lindo played West Indian Archie, which is so like unironically hilarious that I'm just like, he feels like somebody that I could sit and listen to for hours, because like West Indian Archie always literally felt like my uncles. Like my uncles from Brooklyn up in that time. No, like, I don't know. So to see somebody be like, oh, he's played these really wonderful characters, West Indian Archie from the Malcolm X movie. And as soon as I read that, I was like, oh my God, amazing. Something else I read through my TikToks scrolling was that when he's talking about his friend getting lynched and he starts humming, that was what do you call it, ad-lib, improv. That was improv. So that wasn't in the script, which to me speaks to a level of like, it just feels like there was so much ancestral support in the making of this movie. Like there are so many things that time and time again I've seen people say, like, in the reviews I've read and stuff, oh, it's not even just about how it, it's not even about breaking down everything. It's also about just how it feels. This movie made me feel so much. And I'm like, yeah. And the reason that happens is, I mean, incredible artistry, but that push from spirit, which is so deeply embedded in this movie. And this is what happens when Black artists are able to create freely. The amount of consultants, I guess, that Ryan Coogler had on deck for the movie really made such an impactful difference. But anyways, as you can see, I'm obviously a stan for this movie, as I know a lot of you are. So I'm just fangirling out all the time because, oh, it's so good. So people are talking about the homie, the genius, Delta Slim, and saying like, okay, he's a griot, and he also has the same abilities as Sammy, as Preacher Boy. And then I saw a lot of people mentioning how he was very connected to like Papa Legba or Legua or Eshu, and it had me feeling like giddy because yes, he's definitely connected to Papa Legba. But what's interesting to me, which I will go out on a limb and say could also be intentional, is that I said that he was like High John, and a lot of people are saying he's like Elegba, Papa Legba Eshu, and High John is specifically a hoodoo spirit in the Americas, and Papa Legba Eshu and Elegwa are African Caribbean spirits. And okay, let me tie this in together without totally freaking out. So someone else was talking about how the 3 scratches on Sammy's face, she said they turn into Yoruba tribal markings, like markings from Yoruba tribal markings when he's older and he's in the bar. And to me, I was like totally geeking out because there's this element of it's just a very pure representation of culture. When you're a Black person in America, you do have that connection to Africa, to the Caribbean, to the Americas, all in one, wholly and completely. And so he was representing that in Sammy. And if Delta Slim could be, through my interpretation, like, okay, this American spirit, but then in someone else's interpretation be like this African spirit, it's like yes, like it's all true. Like, oh my God, geeking out. Like, I love 2025. May 2026 be even better. Whew. Shout out to our spirit team. Also, when Annie was meeting Smoke for the first time, when we see them reuniting for the first time, she says Ashe. And so like Ifa is heavily involved in this, not just hoodoo, because also her practices come from Africa originally, even though now they're American. I don't know, it was just like a way to honor and represent all these different uniquely distinct but also beautifully interwoven and interconnected cultures, just respectfully, reverently. And it just made me like, yes. So shout out Delta Slim for every reason. Someone also mentioned how when he was, after he sacrificed himself for everyone to get some more time to get through, he had his arms kind of like in the cross. And I was like, yes, man, he was like the sacrifice. He was like, you know, I don't know, man. He was beautiful. I literally have 3 little hairs right here, and I know I have tweezers over there, but if I get them, it's gonna mess up my flow. So I'm just gonna let it go. I'm just gonna pull them out tomorrow. That's the vibe. I'm okay with it. I accept it. Thank you. Mashallah. Okay, so yes, Delta Slim. Okay, so next we're gonna talk about religion and Pearline. Well, we've already been talking about religion, but that's the perfect segue. So Sammy's dad is a preacher, obviously. That's why his name is Preacher Boy. And I think I've made clear, so I'm not going to get too much into it, the nuances of Christianity on an early plantation. It's like these churches were places for people to come and rest in a time, in a place where there was no rest. There was no respite, where culture had been literally demonized, vilified, all that stuff. But a lot of people did not fully embrace Christianity or embraced the church as just another means of survival, as a way to come together and rest. And in so doing, some people syncretized their own traditional beliefs within the church. So obviously the Black church in America has a very long, strong, interwoven, interesting history. But oh my God, there's so much. I should probably just have written about it. I'm just so excited about this film. I love this film. Let me just... Woosah. Okay, so when we first see Sammy entering the church, right? It's really interesting to me because I wonder, it's not clear to me if he's going there to tell his dad that he's leaving for the night, to get his guitar, or both, right? Did he know that his father had taken his guitar? Was he just going in there to get it? Because there is this energy of his dad definitely being kind of manipulative. And it's interesting because, like, I guess parents have to be kind of manipulative sometimes to their children. But Sammy is grown, right? And his dad taking the guitar was a way to get him into the church. And then what does he say? He's like, okay, well, I need your help with the sermon tomorrow. When Sammy goes to the Bible and his dad tells him was 1 Corinthians something something that he's going to be preaching on the next day, Sammy can recite the rest of it by heart. Like, he knows the words. And the message is, like, God never gives us a temptation that's more than we can carry, right? God never tempts us with more than we can handle. And it's really interesting to me because, I mean, no matter what, that was a moment of breaking free. Like, Sammy knows his dad. He knows how the church moves. He moves around. He closes the Bible. He gets the guitar, and he keeps walking out. He's not sitting to argue with his dad, nothing. He's like, my cousins are on their way to pick me up. I'm out of here. Even though his dad very clearly doesn't want him to go. And something else that people pointed out that is so interesting, that, not that I missed, but that I was glad that it was, like, highlighted, was that people were like, you know, how dare his dad, like, curse him. His dad was like, you know, if you leave, if you keep playing that music or something, one day the devil's gonna follow you home. So that's something I want to talk about. But something that I also want to talk about is, like, in the language that's used, that's really specific, when he's like, you know, oh, so that you can what? So that you can just be sweating all over each other. It's really funny, but it's also really interesting to me. And I feel like maybe I don't know if I have the right words to talk about that yet. But, you know, in the movie, we see, like, vampires obviously are very connected to human sacred fluids, right? Namely blood. But we see saliva drool as being, like, an important, like, bodily fluid that comes up a lot. But we hear people talking about sweating on one another, like, a couple times during that movie. And it's interesting because... What? Oh, I can't help you with that right now, kiddo. Just close it for now, and when I'm done in here, I'll help you with that, okay? Right now, you can just watch your show. Thank you. But yeah, I'll come back to that. But it was just interesting to note. So... yeah. So the idea of Sammy kind of stepping out from the path that his dad is trying to kind of force him on and has laid out for him in order to follow his heart and do what he loves is really interesting too, and important. Throughout, you know, my research, there's always this kind of thing that I see about this question, like, well, did Sammy sell his soul to the devil? Because he has a great ability to play now. People are questioning if he had a reflection, all this kind of stuff. And it's interesting to me because in the context of America, colonialism, and the church, what Christianity did was force this very distinct binary on people. Okay, well, you're good or you're evil. You know, you're black or you're white, you're this or you're that. And all that is gotten into with, you know, the presence of Remick and the Chows and all this kind of stuff, Chinese characters, Irish characters, human beings. But this idea, like, okay, well, you believe in God or you don't believe in God. You believe in the church or you don't believe in the church. And it's not, I don't think it's that simple, right? I think, like, obviously Sammy does believe in God, but Sammy he feels a bigger destiny for himself. He feels that he wants to follow his heart. He feels that he wants to get off the plantation. He wants to do something that maybe his father just never could have done, or maybe his mom or his parents just couldn't even imagine. And there's a lot here because, first of all, that's the role of an artist. An artist is kind of existing in almost that liminal space, or that in-between space, as someone who's living the thing, but then also talking about the thing, always at the edge of evolution, always going a little bit further, maybe than the community has gone before, than the family has gone before, you know. Sammy's destined to go to the big city, to share his music with the world, the music that comes from his lived experience. But his parents can't see that, and we see when Sammy is old, he's alive in a world that his parents couldn't have understood. And I think that that's really beautiful, because that is always what an artist is, to have a vision and to follow that vision, even if you don't have proof or results yet, because you're partly responsible in creating and making it. I hope I'm making sense, because this is important to me. So, you know, even if Sammy's the kind of perfect child, which we kind of get that he is, he listens to his mom loves him, she's kind with him, he wakes up his brothers and sisters, he is going to come back and help his father in the church, like, he does what he's told, but he always has that vision in his heart, like, I'm going to follow I'm an artist. And then we find he's a griot, like, he has a spiritual gift and responsibility to take his gifts further. That's what he's supposed to do. But his father, with the limited binaries of the church, which is maybe how he survived, could not see that. Furthermore, this in the beginning scenes when his dad hugs him and he keeps getting flashbacks to Remick and the night before, some people were saying like, oh, that's just PTSD, but some theories were saying, okay, well, that's also because, not unlike Remick and that sort of groupthink ideology when people were turned into vampires, his father had a similar thing with the church. Like, okay, well, just everybody listen to me. Everybody think the same thing. Everybody do the same, hold the same belief, and you'll be fine. I can save us all. I have a plan. And Sammy can see now that that kind of manipulation is not what he's going to do with his life, even if at the risk of everything. And he has risked and lost so much. So, amen. Now, when I talked about Joan a lot in the last video, I talked a lot about feminism and how when you don't have opportunities, education, access, and resources, you can easily be led into doing things that it's not exactly your own idea, but you don't really have like a lot of choices or options, right? So now I want to talk a little bit about more womanism and talk about Perline. So, Sammy, in talking about how he's going to be in a different era than people around him have seen, in talking about how he's going to be in different spaces than where he grew up with have even conceived, I want to talk about he and Perline and how beautiful their connection is. But let me talk first about Perline. So Perline is obviously kind of probably somebody whose marriage is also pretty successful, right? We don't get a lot of look into her backstory, but she's at the train station unaccompanied. She's by herself. She's well-dressed. She's very confident. And when Sammy's talking to her, it's clear that, like, he has actually seen her sing before. Maybe at a nightclub or maybe in a church. Like, it's not clear, but, you know, she's married. She's well-dressed. She's whatever. She has kind of a pretty good, like, setup for the time for her life. But, you know, as soon as Sammy sees her, they're both attracted to each other. I don't know. I love them so much. But he's like, you know, talking to her, and she says straight off the bat, just to let him know and to be honest, like, okay, like, I'm married. And without missing a beat, smooth ass Sammy is just like, happily. I was like, I recoiled. I was like, these two are trouble. Like, oh my God, happily, excuse me? Anyway, and she just warns him. She's like, be careful. Hi, honey. Like, you're gonna bite off more than you can chew, which is hilarious if you think about it. Oh, do you want me to open one of those for you? I got those for us. Do you want me to open one of those? Are you hungry? I can open that for you if you want it. No? Okay. Okay. But how happy can you be as a woman if your circumstances are still dictated by these major societal constraints and your partnership, not unlike today, might I add. And so it seems like Perline, also as an artist, is somebody who finds her freedom, her moments of self-expression, her joy in that creativity, in singing, in the music. And that's a part of her life that she sort of keeps distinct and separate from her husband. And we don't know anything about her husband. We don't know what his job is. We don't know anything about him. We don't know anything about him. And it's beautiful because obviously at the end of this movie, it's like for those few hours we were free. Like Perline gets to taste also and experience that freedom. But that also was not something that was like, she couldn't, like, she died that night, but she also got to experience freedom. Where was like, I don't know how, I don't know. There's so much there that I feel like probably gonna dig back into in another time and maybe with other people. But that was her experience of freedom. And also, so she and Sammy, like Sammy knows from the beginning, like he's gonna like be with her. And it's interesting too that after they get together and are intimate is when she sings. She gets up on stage after that. It's like she's just like literally blossom and come alive. And then you see how performative she is, how she's commanding the audience, how she's just singing with so much passion and purpose. And at the same time is when Mary is coming in and going to attack and actually change Stack. And he's reborn as a vampire, or he dies, a part of him dies. It's like it's interesting too, because obviously in the church and in the Bible, adultery is literally like one of the 10 commandments or something, like one of the major sins, like you do not cheat on your spouse. But it's interesting because also like as a woman, as a performer, as a creator, I'm not trying to justify adultery, which is actually what I'm about to do. So I'm sorry. I'm just trying to like for the plot. But like, you know, in that time, in that era, like what is she supposed to do? Like, you have to be married, you have to be of certain status, you have to be whatever. You don't have certain options in a society that's so constricted. And like, it's interesting because like I do see Pearline as a very like empowered character and a very kind and beautiful person, but her as a representation of like Black women who are of that modern time, like in the city or whatever, is interesting too, because the church, I guess you could also say the church also failed them, that whole demographic, or the church did not have a support system for that demographic, which goes back to what I was saying about the kind of group think of preacher boy's dad. If you don't do exactly what the church says, you could be shunned, you could be banished. But where is the joy? Where is the creativity? Where's the love? Where is the freedom? It's not in the church. T. But then also respectfully respecting Black traditions, Christianity, Ifa, Hoodoo, everything, Voodoo, Santeria, Lukumi, Palo. Okay, well, if you break the 10 commandments, you probably go to hell. And what is becoming a vampire if not like going to hell? Because you're immortal, but you're stuck in this human body. You lose everyone around you and you still outlive them. You're a monster, I guess. So, you know, Pearline gets to experience her joy, gets to experience her freedom. And even just to like be herself, you know, when Annie's like, everybody's gonna eat this garlic, Pearline's like, I don't want to eat garlic. Like, I just don't like it. Like, she has freedom of choice in that space. She gets to express herself and be who she is. Like, and she dies about it. Okay, honey, I'll be there soon. But even when she dies, like when she gets bitten, the thing she says is like, she tells Sammy, like, go run. Like, she's compassionate, she's loving, she's creative, she's herself. She's not the same well-dressed, uptight, businessy city person we see at the train station. Like, this is like who she is, which is like, again, there's a whole other thing. But I guess what I will say is how art creates a space for people to be who people really are, and for people to come together, which is the most important thing ever. And so when I don't know if I saw it the first time or if I saw it in the after the credits when I was really paying attention, but when you see how Sammy named his place Pearline's, oh my God, it gets me every time. Like, so the thing also is like, Sammy was on a non-traditional path. Sammy wasn't gonna be in the church and marry someone from his community. And did Sammy ever get married after that? Did he ever have kids? I don't know. It didn't look like it. He stayed and fell in love with his music, but Pearline was in a way like the love of his life. And maybe I like to think that he was the love of hers as well. And so what does it say? Like, it's better to have loved and lost than to have never have loved at all. They got to experience that love together, even if we were free, even if, oh my God, even if only for a few hours. Obviously, you know, I'm trying not to put the movie on right now. God damn, such a good movie. But so, you know, if feminism is this very like white studies, no offense, I love feminism, it's not about that, but this very white studies thing that talks about giving women rights and equality, but intentionally often excludes specifically Black women and Black women's specific needs and experiences, and women of color's like needs and experiences, then we have to talk about how, from a womanist perspective, again, in this film, Pearline got to have all of that, the self-expression, the choice, the stage to share her own voice. She got to experience those things which she could not experience probably in her society without maybe ostracization from the church or judgment or whatever. And so it's interesting because that also included adultery, but it's because it was choice. It was about choice and love and connection, which I love. And that's highlighted also in looking at Mary's relationships. Poor Mary. Because Mary, you know, I can talk about this as somebody who is obviously has mixed bloodlines. But like, Mary and Stack loved each other 100%. And Stack set her up with a white family, with a white man to marry, to keep her alive. And so also talking about womanism, because Mary's a Black woman, even if she's white presenting and multiracial. That's her community. Those are her people. But Stack knows the times, right? Look, he sees, in the beginning, he sees Hogwood and he's immediately like, if you and your clan buddy set foot on our land ever again, we'll shoot you all where you stand. Like, he knows the reality of the world. And the reality is, even if they're perfectly happy, if he married Mary and settled down with Mary, and she opened the window at night and a clan member walked by, they could lynch them both and maybe do worse to her, right? Maybe they would keep her alive and do worse to her. Like, you know, it's this very sad and true reality where but it's very cute because he's doing this stuff where he's like, this is what you need to do to stay safe. Like, I'm going to lay out this path for you. And she's like, fuck you, fuck that. I'll fight every bitch in here. I'll do whatever. Like, I love you. I'm just trying to have a night to be with music. Like, I'm going to be me. And it's her one chance to experience freedom for a couple hours. It's her one opportunity, which came with death, which came with such loss with her. You know, she came into town because her mom just died. But who knows when the last time was that she saw her community, you know, everybody she grew up with, everybody who knows her. Because Stack knew that looking the way that she looked, what does he say when the vampires try to come in? Because Stack is like, okay, well, their music's not bad. Smoke is like, okay, and what happens if somebody spills a drink on them? What happens if somebody steps on their foot? This can be a much bigger issue. And it's that kind of hypervigilance and PTSD that not only has probably kept them alive, but that is connected to the reality of their circumstances, of the society, of the times, right? Which is devastating, but true. Even if Mary and Stack were happy for 10 years, maybe on the 11th, someone could have seen them, killed them, separated their children. And it's really, really sad because it's like the dreamiest people will say, like, do it for love, do whatever. But the reality of Stack and Mary's relationship is that even though they were in love, which you know too, because as soon as she walks away, she's like, okay, go to hell. And he's like, yep, I'll keep a seat there, right there next to me. Like, he knows, like, in some other world, they would be together. Like, maybe if it has to be in hell, it will be in hell. But he does love her. That's why he's such a cold-ass villain to her. And it's interesting from a womanist perspective, too, because then even all the times that we see Mary, like, as a vampire, those are the first scenes, she's gone from somebody who was, like, grieving and who was, like, whatever, when she's talking to the vampires, to just so cool, so in control. When she bites Stack, she's on top of him. She's like, and she has that, what I called in the earlier video, angelical fervor. She's like, we're gonna kill every last one of you. And it sounds scary and haunting, which obviously it is, but she has the vision as Remick. And she's like so excited because she's like, I'm gonna get to be with my people forever. And I think it was kind of a little bit of poetic justice and beauty that we see them in the 90s together. And it's interesting because I saw time and time again people say this comment that was like, it's so sweet that Mary and Stack got to live until a time where their relationship was accepted, but their relationship wasn't accepted. I'm telling you, as a person who's alive in 2025, there's still a lot of haters for biracial people and interracial relationships and stuff. So it's interesting, but I get the point. Obviously, they weren't going to be probably as obviously publicly lynched for being together. And so that was very beautiful. I'm very happy for them. But in talking about, again, that kind of womanism and who gets to choose about your relationships, about your whatever, you know? Coming back to this connection between Pearline and Mary as two successful women who are married, but maybe not happily, who find their joy at the juke joint. And so much things I did not say. I'm from Portmore, that's NJA. We can do it on the beach day. Yeah. Just talking about like womanism, like, you know, Mary's like on top of Stack. Mary's making the choice for him now. She was like, you're gonna be with me now. Like, before he was like, okay, you know, you're not gonna be with me so that we can both live. And she's like, okay, now I'm gonna make the choice for you. You're gonna be with me now forever, and we'll live as undead. So yeah, I remember reading somewhere in the last several years that like horror is the last genre of movies that's actually like pro women, and it really stuck in my head because I don't consider myself someone who loves horror. But then I see that, oh sorry, let me answer this text. Yep. Then I see, you know, some of the movies that I am interested in, and I'm like, you know, I don't dive deep into horror. I feel like I consider myself a very unique kind of genre person, you know. If there's gonna be like psychic activity or representation that's good of like witches or mind control or black people, like, then I'll probably get into it. But it's true, that's the last genre where women don't have to be, well, the first genre right now, where women don't have to be like degraded to tell the story or whatever. And just as a little brief aside, something I've noticed before we got to this point of the incel youth of America in the last 15 years or so, constantly there's these little moments in regular TV and movies and stuff where there's just little acts of like violence against women that probably are like slapstick comedy, but that don't need to be there, but that further dehumanize women, and especially black women. And just like somebody trips and falls and that's the comedy point, or somebody gets slapped or something, like just things that don't need to happen to just constantly dehumanize people. Whereas in horror, that's not the case. Like truly, arguably, one of the really unsettling moments in that movie is when Mary's standing up and Smoke and Preacher Boy and maybe Annie are looking at her. No, Annie's not there. And they're like, what the hell? And she's like, we gonna kill every last one of you. And then she freaking runs out after having been shot. Oh, chills. Like, terrifying, because she's so excited. She's so alive. She's so present. She has her moment. She has everyone's attention. She's about to have her man. Crazy ass movie. Yeah, I really liked this movie, obviously. And it also, I guess, speaks to the hubris of being a visionary. Sorry, like, but Remick was a visionary for sure. And like, what happens when you're like, we're gonna remake the world? What happens when you're like, we're gonna challenge all the rules of a society and we're gonna make our own society? We're gonna make it better. Well, for black people historically in this country, it all burns to the ground. Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre, like all this, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr. Every single time, there's like one leader that's like, you can hate me for comparing Remick to Malcolm X, that's cool. My mind is just flowing now and I'm happy with it. I'm happy with myself. Hallelujah. But when there's one person who's like, okay, we're gonna come together in equality, it doesn't work. Like, and I think that contrasting dynamic of like Remick outside being the leader, but having everyone in that group think, again, talking about cults and talking about the church, being like, we're all gonna live in peace and love, that doesn't work because people are individuals. People have to be allowed dissent. And inside, again, Perline's like, I don't want to eat the garlic. Like, everybody has these different personalities, which is what makes up a vibrant and healthy community. People having different backgrounds, different understanding, different likes and dislikes, all this kind of stuff. You know, Grace, talking about womanism again, Grace Chow going up after she sees her husband turned and stuff and just totally challenging Smoke, even in a way that's like people might be like offended by or derogatory. She's like, aren't you a soldier? If now is not the time to act, then when? What is wrong with you? And all that kind of stuff. Like, she could challenge him, she could talk to him like that, because inside was actually like a community. But look, they were inside, not unlike when you're like inside of a jail or inside of it, like the organizing that happens when people are put in a position to fight for their lives. Shout out to Ryan Coogler, for real. What happens when you're Black in America in a matrix or a system that was built intricately with the complexities of your survival in mind to torture you and keep you contained. Also for Indigenous people, which is why it's so cool. Okay, so something else I read. I guess I wasn't thinking about the fact that the Choctaw being represented in the beginning, the Choctaw and the Irish, when the British were colonizing the Irish and the Irish famine happened because the British were taking all of the food from Ireland, the Choctaw Nation sent a bunch of food that kept Irish people alive. And there's a statue, there's like a beautiful like Choctaw statue in Ireland, I think. Like, I see the picture come up every year when it's time to commemorate when this happened. So it's interesting that it's the Choctaw who are coming for Remick, because someone was highlighting this. There is a long-standing relationship. So that was respectfully and beautifully done, which oh my God, the consultants on this, I really appreciated and respected. I don't know why I started talking about that. But yeah, so in that way, again, it's a blessing, it's a tragedy. I mean, it's a horror, not a tragedy, because it's like and it's also a really respectful and mindful, beautiful understanding of the relationship with death, right? Because being afraid of death is like a uniquely modern phenomena, like that's Christian rooted. You know, a lot of the much older spiritual practices have an understanding and a respect for life, but also a respect for death. And hey, Pumpkin, I'm glad to see you. I love you. I'm almost finished in here. You want to say hi? I respect it. Yeah.
Can you keep your drawing in my room?
Yeah, you can take the drawing into your room. I love that we made it together. I think it's really, really beautiful. I'm going to take some pictures of it later, too.
Mommy, let's play guess or not.
Okay.
But first, can you go play with me?
No, baby, go. I'm almost finished here. And then I'll come and sit with you.
Go play with me.
Okay. All right. I guess I just wanted to talk about how that's also reflected in Grace Chow's death. She runs right into the fire, like, and it's sad. People have, I guess, very mixed feelings about her, which I'll get into, but I feel like kind of also an accurate reflection of this idea that being afraid of death is a uniquely kind of modern Christian understanding. She's not scared of death. She's scared for her daughter, which was so sad because that was such a mind control trick. Obviously, Remick was not going to go into the town he wanted Sammy. He wasn't gonna leave the juke joint. But obviously also him approaching her like that would have elicited a strong reaction. Because she's, you know, the mother of the group. I mean, Annie's the mother of the group, but she's the mother of the group. You know, she's the one who still has a child at home. So we have all these different representations of womanism in the movie. You got a shield?
Yep.
Congratulations. So yeah, those are my reflections for part 2.
Punch me like a real Minecraft
Okay, ready?
player.
Ooh, that's a good shield.
Try and punch me 3 more times.
Okay. Yeah, your shield does its job all right.
When I crouch, it makes the shield pop up.
I had a great time telling you some more of my thoughts about the movie. I'm sure there will be another part. Until then, I'll see y'all the next time. Bye.